What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog, back in Standard with a Trample list. So obviously, a ton of fun here with the Quartzwood Crasher ever since I Corium, and I just continue to get little bits of support here and there in the following sets. And Zendikar Rising is no exception. Obviously, we did lose our Shocklands, but we got the Cragcrown Pathway instead. So this is definitely a pretty impactful card. We are running 24 lands, even though we have some pretty top-end heavy stuff, but we have some nice ramp cards to help us kind of get there to those powerful 5-drops and whatnot. So obviously we have the Quartzwood Crasher in all 4 of, because we are Trample Tribal here. 3 Elder Gargaroth works just fantastic all around. It's got the Proud Wildbonders, which we've obviously played before. I like running it as a 2 of because when it's good in those matchups where it's good, it's extremely good. Other matchups you can just sideboard it out. If opponent's not running creatures, then obviously having it deal combat damage is when blocked. Then it's just a 4-mana 4/3 with Trample it's decent, but not necessarily good enough. But I still think it's worth running in the main deck, so we can just kind of be all in on our Trample plan, and then we can kind of adjust from there. Gemrazer, of course, reach and trample, and potentially mutate it to destroy artifacts and enchantments. Shatterskull Charger is a new card we got. Trample haste, 4 mana or 3 mana 4/3. When it comes down, you can kick it for additional 2 mana, so 5 mana, and it comes in with additional +1 counter on it, so it'll be a 5 mana 5/4 trample haste, which is pretty strong either way. At the beginning of your end step, if it doesn't have a +1 counter on it, you turn it to its owner's hand. We don't have any other ways to put counters on it except for the Great Henge, which we're running a 1 of. So most of the time, if you want to just cast this on 3, that's actually perfectly fine, because you can punch through for 4 trample damage, especially against like control decks. If they don't have a counter spell for it, then you just get in for 4, and then if it try to go to wipe your board with the Shadow Sky, well, it's in your hand. You can just keep playing it again, and you don't have to kick it. You can just keep playing it for 3 mana as a 4-powered trample haste threat, and that's going to be very, very difficult for those control decks to deal with. Bonecrusher Giant gives us some removal and a big body as well. It doesn't have trample, but it's just a good card, and we do need as much interaction for rogues and Lotus Cobras and things like that on our opponent's side. Obviously, a lot of the rogues do have like 3 toughness, which is a little bit tricky, but we'd have a sideboard to kind of help us out with those. But we can deal with some of the rogues in the early game, and of course, Lotus Cobra is a must answer as well. So there's some additional interaction here in the ram through. You could try Primal Might instead, but ram through being instant speed I think is a little bit better, especially since we're in Trample Tribal. That upside of dealing punching through for additional damage as well maybe is worth it. Primal Might obviously is a very good card. It also works well with the Trample, but it being Sorcerous Speed, kind of favor the ram through personally. But maybe Primal Might is the better removal spell, because especially with Trample, if you can make it really, really big, then that could be better in some ways. But instant speed and just being able to kill something and trample through for damage, because it deals damage. You're not talking about your creature dying or things like that. You can still go to combat and that sort of thing. Lotus Cobra, of course, we're running. We don't have Paradise Druids or anything like that, so we're running Lotus Cobra, and that's has a little bit more upside, obviously. It doesn't have the hexproof or whatever like Paradise Druid has, but Lotus Cobra can do some more busted things. We're not really abusing the landfall trigger much in here. We're just trying to help us kind of ramp, maybe play our beefy creatures maybe a turn earlier or whatever, and so that's kind of what the Lotus Cobra is here for. And it's a 2/1 body, so if your opponent doesn't have any creatures out, you can just get in for 2 damage, and that might help you out in certain situations. For this additional ramp, we're running the Ilysian Caryatid. Obviously, you could run the human humble naturalist or whatever, but that's a human, and you can't mutate on top of it with the Gemrazer. So I'd rather run something like this. We can tap it for 1 mana of any color, and if we have one of our big boys down, we can tap it for 2 mana of any 1 color instead. So I'm not really too sure how impactful that the power 4 for 2 mana really is, but just being able to tap for 1 mana of any color on a creature seems pretty much worth it right there. But obviously the Cobra is generally going to be better, so run 4 and 2 split here. Kind of a cheeky addition here is Purphoros, Bronze Blooded. There we go. 5 mana, 7/6, indestructible. Devotion has to be 5 or more to have it be a creature. Other creatures you control have haste, and that's really the key right there. That's kind of why I was looking at this. Obviously, we did get Tuk Tuk Robofort in this new set, but just kind of playtesting it like an early access and things like that, it just didn't quite feel good enough. And Purphoros has a ton of upside. We have the Quartzwood Crasher, which has double red. We have the Shatterskull Charger, Proud Wildbonder, so we do have lots of red pips to count towards our Devotion Embercleave and things like that. So It's definitely not going to be too difficult to get this up to Devotion, and a 7/6 Indestructible is pretty powerful, obviously. And we can pay 3 to put a red creature from our hand onto the battlefield, or artifact creatures, but we're not running any. So red creatures, but we do have to sacrifice at the beginning of our end step. But it's going to come down with haste for 3 mana. So if we need to just kill our opponent, maybe we can have this down on 5, then turn 6, we'll have 6 manas open. We can play the Shatterskull Charger for 3 mana, sink the other 3 mana into the Purphoros to maybe bring in a Quartzwood Crasher with haste, and you probably just kill your opponent that way, because our Purphoros will then have Devotion, so we could attack in as well. So that's kind of the dream here. But just giving other creatures haste is just worth it alone. But it is a little bit cheeky, and we're not always gonna have Devotion, so I think just 1 copy is no more than what you want to run. So 2 copies here of Embercleave. We're running lots of big boys, so we do obviously want some Embercleaves that work extremely well with Quartzwood Crasher, but don't need more than 2, because it's not going to be something we're going to be able to cast until a little bit later on in the game. Not entirely sold on Great Henge, but I think it could be worth running a single copy. Obviously, we have lots of big creatures, which is going to reduce the casting cost of this pretty easily, but we're more trying to win with like big creatures and kind of crashing through for a bunch of damage. But there's definitely situations where opponents can have a bunch of removal, and you might need to actually chain together some spells to kind of continue finding answers. And so, casting creatures, since we have tons of creatures, and being able to draw cards when we do so, put counters on them, could be pretty impactful in certain situations, obviously. And for some additional removal here, we have Purphoros Intervention. That's a card a lot of people don't really like, but I think it's pretty solid personally. It scales really well. I mean, twice X damage, so it pretty much deals with a wide range of creatures. If your opponent's running Elder Gargaroth, I mean, that's a very difficult creature to deal with for a lot of decks, especially if you're not running like hard removal and like white or black. And so Intervention is going to let us just kill it for X3, deals twice damage, and get that off the board so they can't draw cards or gain life or whatever, or just stop our 6/6s, because that's kind of where we top out it. I mean, obviously we'd have Embercleave, but if we don't have it in hand, then it doesn't really do us a whole lot of good if our opponent just has their own Gargaroth down and things like that. And then obviously things like Omnath and that sort of thing we need to deal with as well. Mana base, so we went over the Cragcrown Pathway, 6 Mountain, 6 Forest, 4 Trample of Abandon, 4 Fabled Passage. So obviously we are leaning slightly towards red, but the pathways being able to come down is either way. I don't think you really need to do too much as far as the fixing goes, so I think just having the split, especially since we have our green on turn 2 for those mana dorks and things like that, it's pretty important to have that balance. Sideboard here, we got a couple Cinderclasms to deal with some of the rogue strategies, Lotus Cobras, things like that. Scorching Dragonfire is really, though, what we want for the rogue strategies. Being able to 3 damage seems like that's a sweet spot against those decks. So all 4 copies, because rogues are definitely going to be an issue in Standard going forward. Some additional interaction for artifacts and enchantments and return nature. In addition to our Gemrazers, we do need some ways to instant speed kind of destroy our opponent's Embercleaves and whatnot. One of Spyglass to kind of help us shut down Ugins and maybe other planeswalkers. A couple Klothys as our graveyard interaction. Obviously, Scavenging Ooze might be the better card, but I feel like with where our deck is at, I think Klothys is probably where we want to be, generally speaking. Obviously, it's indestructible, so it's a little bit more resilient. But yeah, we're running Klothys here. Obviously, it works well against control decks as well with incremental damage. It kind of puts a clock on them, so they can't just sit back and try to counter everything. If you resolve a Klothys against them, then just going to ping, ping, ping. And then obviously the Proud Wildbonder obviously is pretty situational, so we can easily slide that out for something like a Questing Beast as well, which is a fantastic card. And then here's kind of a flex spot. I think Vivien is another good answer against those kind of control and removal heavy decks to kind of help you adding board presence with her +1 or digging for creatures with her -2. So that's the list. We'll jump into some matches, see how it goes. All right, first match against Dr. Schlussi on the draw. All right. Well, it's a little slow, but I mean, we have Temple, Wildbonder, Crasher, Gargaroth. We have some nice pieces here. If our opponent's going to be on like an aggro landfall or mono red or something like that, then it could be a little bit of a problem. But if they get off to too good of a start, we could just pack it in and go to sideboard before we even show them what we're up to. So that's a thing. All right, Simic and a budget at that. Temple, Gemrazer. We already have a 4-drop, so I think we'll bottom that. Maybe we can find a 2-drop here and try to ramp into something. And save our passage for later, I guess. Chainweb Arachner. I like that card, but I don't know if that card is actually good in ranked play anyway. But our opponent's running 70 cards. Okay, mill it is, sure. So I guess it's just there to be a 2 toughness creature. You're a teamer. They milled 2 cobras. That's pretty brutal. That'll be a nice draw for us. We'd stomp it. Seems pretty mediocre. Obviously they can escape it. So our opponent running some jank mill and platinum ranked. I guess we stomp this Chenweb. That's disgusting. We'll just go face. We can trample over this Chenweb, so I'm not too worried about that. After a pretty slow start, and they've milled a bunch of cards, so they know what we're up to, or they have access to that information anyway. Alright, there's Embercleave. So just drop a Wildbonder. So we definitely have the upside here to Embercleave then, but so we don't have counter magic or gain a million life with this Uro. Or multiple Uros. Where there's one, there's always 4. Another tutelage, so they're going to be going on turbo mode here. We're still over half our library, so I'm not too worried about it just yet. But yeah, the slow start isn't really helping our cause. Our opponent's just all the jank. I mean, the deck doesn't seem very good, but they're making it work against us, so whatever. We'll attack 4. They can block, but we'll just assign damage. They can keep their chain web. Don't want to fill up their graveyard, although they're discarding anyway to fairies. Yeah. Oh, we got a 4/4? How does that work? What are you going to do, opponent? Do we Gargaroth or just go for the Embercleave? Probably just want to Embercleave and just get this game over with. Pretty decent idea of what they're up to. It's not a very good deck. It's kind of all over the place, especially 70 cards, not very focused. 3 mana, 1 card in hand. Could be a counterspell. 27. Do we care? We want a Gargaroth here, just to force them to have something. It resolves. They maybe don't have a counterspell. We're showing 14 damage right now. Teamer, I don't think they have a way to deal with this board. Can you mill us out here in 1 turn? Our opponent's deck is super cute. So I don't know if people are just still trying to figure out the new meta and acquire some of the new cards. Or if this person's just trying to actually play some jank and they think their deck is actually decent. And they're basically just dead here. Oh, well. I'm not going to play a kicker. Okay. Alright, so they have Uros and enchantments. I mean, lower scale Kotal can get big if they go off with it, so I mean, Wildbonder came in pretty clutch there. It might still be better than Questing Beast. Probably want to try to kill our opponent sooner rather than later. So I don't think drawing cards is going to be great against a mill deck, so we can cut the Henge. Do you want both Klothys here? I don't want these returning natures. I mean, we shut down the tutelage, that's going to slow them down pretty significantly. I mean, Uro is a big deal, so we should probably just bring in both Klothys and trim. I guess we'll leave the Ram-Throughs in, maybe shave a Bonecrusher Giant. We don't need a ton of removal against them, I don't think. Alright. So So obviously we want to try to save our Gemrazers if possible to mutate, but we do need some mana dorks to actually make that happen. So, wow, triple temple. That's awkward. Well, we can try to scry into a untapped land. But I mean, 3 lands is still 3 lands, so we'll keep it. We have 1 Gemrazer in hand. We're just looking for a basic if possible. Try to play this Caryatid on curve, that would be nice. Maybe Gemrazer or Mutate. Okay, milling us for 4. Oh, there goes a Klothys. There's untapped. Yeah. Alright, so now we got some options next turn. We'll see what they do. See if they drop tutelage. We'll absolutely mutate and destroy that. Otherwise, we'll probably just haste in this Shatterskull. I have a Secret Keeper that could just play as a 4 toughness blocker. But we could kill that here. Alright, 4 cards in hand. 1 mana is open. Alright, play you. Probably just looking for another land still. I mean, obviously Caryatid counts as mana, but I think I'd rather just make sure we can curve out with mana naturally in case they have a way to deal with this. I mean, they're running Scorching Dragonfires and some red removal, so it's possible. Okay, you have 1 mana open. There's not any 1 mana counter spells for creatures that I'm aware of, so. Stern Dismissal, you got it. Nice, so they're slowing us down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, well, we tried. I guess we just Wildbonder. Yeah, we'll Wildbonder, see if they have a counter. I'd rather try to resolve this Crasher. It's much more important to our strategy. I mean, if they're trying to bounce stuff, there's a decent chance they have the counter magics. Could just be a desperation play. Obviously, Wildbonder put in work against them last time. Charger's good, but I don't know if we want 2 of them. Okay, so they left the door open. We can get this Charger in. Or Crasher, I should say. Could still have a bounce effect, but it's alright. Alright, Quartzwood Crasher. Pass. Oh yeah, I guess we'd have 2 manas. We can fight the Secret Keeper now. And hit them for 2. We'll see what they do though. Obviously, if they they're still ways from escaping Uro. But we'll just wait and see what they do. I don't think we need to fire this Ram through off yet. They're not really doing much. You're playing a mill deck and you've got things like Wildwood Scourge. You control, you don't control. We'll get the 3 power creature off the board. And we'll save this Gemrazer. Yeah, let's thin the deck. We don't need to keep drawing lands. That's why we're running just the 24, because we don't want to flood out. We want to draw action. We have mana, and we're not doing much else, so we'll go ahead and kick it. We will go ahead and kick it. We'll keep the Caryatid back just in case, I guess. Alright, so we're trampling through for 7 damage here. Make a 7/7. They could be running Storm's Wrath, which would should suck pretty hard. But if they don't have a way to deal with our board, then they're dead on board. Even a Storm's Wrath doesn't deal with the Quartzwood or the 7/7 token. That's cute. That is cute. Don't have a way to deal with that. But yeah, we're still just gonna crash in. Okay, they trade there, take 7. Make another 7/7, and we'll get a 4/4 down. No. We'll go and hardcast this. I don't think they have a way to... What are you doing? There we go, that one. Alright. So we got 2 7/7s, a 4/4, and all the mana in the world. Cherix. Well, we can only block one thing, so... So opponent making it easy on us with a very weird deck. I don't know if they're trying to mill or they're just trying to play Teamer jank. Alright, up against Rye. Gotta go first, perfect. Alright, Quartzwood Crasher, ram through, Embercleave. It's a bit slow, but we have some removal in the Giant. We have 3 lands to start. I'm not going to complain about that. Looking for more lands here, probably. Maybe a 4-drop. Untapped land would be ideal, so we can play the stomp something and play the Bonecrusher Giant on curve. We'll see what we got here. Forest, yeah, I'll take that. Alright, play either one of these basics. Uh-oh, Temple of Enlightenment. You want Azorius control? If we find our Shatterskull Smasher, we can definitely wreck control decks, but we'll see what they're up to. Oh, they're on Flyers. Is Flyers even good in Standard anymore? I'm not sure about that. Alright, play you. Alright, so we still need more lands here to get to these 5-drops. Flashing in the Fairy Vandal at Sorcery Speed. Gotta love it. We have Forest in hand, so we'll grab a Mountain. Swing in. So we have this ram through open to us. That's the nice thing about having instant speed. Obviously, we have 5 lands here. Probably try to resolve this Quartzwood Crasher next turn. So go ahead and fire off this ram through, I think. And the Watcher can get pretty nasty. Really? Oh, man. We take 2. I don't care about that. I mean, they're not dead yet, but they're basically dead. I mean, that's kind of a blowout for them. Alright, we'll get our Crasher down because that's our fun card. Obviously, Gargaroth is better against the Flyers list. They could still have another Staggering Insight, which would obviously give them a chance, especially if they have Stern Dismissals and things of that sort. But yeah, I think we're just gonna scry into something that's not a land, basically. Attack and just try to Embercleave, and just that's gonna be too difficult for them to deal with. Gargaroth doesn't really matter at that point. Okay, so the low to ground Flyers. Obviously, Stomp still work really well. I mean, Wildbonder could be good, but I imagine they're going to be trying to be aggressive. So I think Questing Beast is probably better. I feel like the Henge and Purphoros are a little bit slow, so we'll just bring in the Scorching Dragonfires. And is 3 enough? Yeah, 3 is probably enough. Do we need anything else? I mean, Return Nature can pick off their Staggering Insight, but rather just kill their creatures. Cinderclasm could wreck them pretty hard too. But, you know, they have ways to kind of get above 2 toughness. Actually, Imperial Eagle rotated, so it's kind of one of the reasons why Flyers may not still be as good. Well, we won game 1, so we have some leeway here. So we'll see how this game goes. We might need to adjust further, but it seems pretty reasonable. I don't feel like this is too rough of a matchup because obviously that first game went extremely well, and well, I mean that's one way to lose if you can't keep your hands. That's better. We'll ditch a ramp through, and obviously we need to scry into some more lands. Embercleave is nice, but unfortunately we just need lands, period. Alright, Questing Beast is pretty good against this deck. And try to haste it in, and then if they don't have ways to block it because their creatures are too small, it's going to be pretty sweet. Alright, we'll go Cobra here. If it resolves, we have Temple, and we can flash or haste this in. Holding up Lofty Denial. Sure. Cobra's nice, but it's not really super impactful for our strategy. And they're still playing these Fairy Vandals as at sorcerer speed. Yeah, we need lands. Alright, what do we do here? They don't do anything. They don't attack or anything. What do we want? Guess we'll play out the Gemrazer. Yeah, they have more counter magic. That's fine. I'd rather Questing Beast or keep this Charger alive. That could be pretty impactful. Hasty threats to get them later. And they're not impacting the board. I don't know why they didn't attack with a Fairy Vandal, though, if they're not actually going to... if they're just going to counter something. Triple Lofty Denial. And they're stuck on lands, but that's super obnoxious to have triple Lofty Denial. Skybonder is annoying, but so is Questing Beast. I mean, we're at 18, and they've had the turn 2, or what was that, turn 3 when they finally played it? I mean, they're not really doing much. I mean, these Skybonders are annoying for throwing off our math, but it just does not matter. And they're tapped out. They use up their counterspells. How many more counterspells do they have? I'd like to get those Purphoros down and hasten the Crasher next turn, but that's probably just greedy. So we'll just play the Crasher. I mean, it's the same thing anyway, right? Attacks next turn. With the Questing Beast, we don't really have Devotion anyway, so let's get the Crasher down. It's more important to resolve under potential counter magic. But they've played 3 Lofty Denials. I don't know how many. I mean, when I ran Flyers, I didn't run. I think Lofty Denial was like the only. Oh, Pouncing Shore Shark? Really? That's annoying. Well, they're hitting us for a lot of damage. I think we need to deal with that Shore Shark, though, immediately. I'll just Scorching Dragonfire. So they're down to 8, but they got us on a clock here. Wow, that Shore Shark was a blowout. And Insight. Wow, they got us. That's insane. That is insane. Wow. Their deck's not very good, but they got us. Alright, round through is good. Alright, Embercleave may be a little bit slow, so we're bringing that 4th Dragonfire. See, these are 2/2s. Maybe we want the Cinderclasms as well, because that hits pretty much all their board and doesn't target either, so if they're trying to Jubilant Skybonder, which is not a very good card, but they punished us for it. I mean, especially with 2 of them out, that's we had to tap out just for a 2-mana Scorching Dragonfire. That's pretty insane. I mean, yeah, you got value off of it, but it doesn't happen very often. That's why it's not a good card. Alright, so we can't find our mana dorks or interaction, but we do have, you know, pretty nice curve here at our top end. But, you know, they got a decent start. They can definitely get under us, so we'll give it a try. It's pretty cute with the mutations. I guess that kind of makes sense, since Flyers are pretty underpowered right now. So I need double red. Also need double green for Questing Beast. We'll wait. Watcher of the Spheres. So again, we don't have interaction. We desperately need to hit some land drops here. Alright. Skybonder coming down. And the Fairy Vandal. See, that makes sense to play the Fairy Vandal now with the Watcher of the Spheres down, so you hit for 4. But we missed our land drop, and yeah, we're not going to come back from that. It's unfortunate. Alright, up against looks like a Japanese opponent. There we go. Yeah, with some mana dorks, but one land. Even on the draw, can't keep it. We'll keep this and actually bin the expensive spell. Keep the intervention just to have some interaction, depending on what our opponent's up to. That was some rough draws here, but seems like you play unranked and your draws are like perfect most of the time, and then you go to ranked play and then you have to mulligan like all the time. It's kind of annoying. But you know, Shatterskull Charger into Gemrazer is decent. Obviously the Charger is going to bounce back to our hand. Opponent mulligan to 2. That's pretty insane, and they're actually playing it out. Well, I guess they want to see what we're doing, and we can't. We're not going to concede, obviously. We need land, so we'll keep it. And Yielding Goose. Well, we have an answer for that. So our opponent's got quite the hole to dig themselves out of. Alright, play you. Probably just Gemrazer here as a 4/4. We'll go ahead and thin the deck. We don't need to keep drawing more lands. Grab a green source, balance that out. Just play a 4/4 Gemrazer. We don't need to mutate and blow up that that food token. And next turn we can Shatterskull with kicker. And just hit them for 9. Alright, our opponent had to mulligan to Oblivion, so that's unfortunate. If they draw untapped land, they could have a kill spell. So that's a thing. But we're just gonna haste this in and swing. Alright, so they're in Golgari colors, probably Adventures? Could be Adventures. What do we want against that? We need ways to deal with their creatures. That'd be pretty important. I don't know for sure if that's what it is. And they kind of have all the advantage here with all that information. So we'll shave one ramp through off and try it like that and kind of adjust once we get a better idea of what our opponent's up to. Oh, does the Golgari Adventures, don't they run the goose? I would think they do. That could be like some kind of a... They might even be running 3 colors and we just didn't see it. And mulligan to 2 is pretty brutal, but they played it out so they had to see what we were doing. But we're pretty aggro deck, so we don't necessarily care about that. If we can just kind of do our thing, we can do some pretty nasty things, especially with some of our hasty threats and ways to give haste with Purphoros and whatnot. Yeah, just make me curious to see what they're actually up to. Being super slow, so very diligent over there. Nice to rotate through all these pets. Kronos is pretty sweet, or whichever one this is. I mean, Embercleave in the open hand isn't great, but Bonecrusher and Wildbonder seems pretty decent, and 4 lands, so yeah, definitely going to keep this. So we can stomp their Goose or Innkeeper or whatever they got going on. And play it out as a 4/3 and follow up with a Wildbonder and maybe Embercleave or whatever from there. Okay, so Soul Tie. Oh, and they're running 70 cards. We'll bottom that. Of course, could just get stuck on 4 lands and not be able to cast our 5 drops. But we found a land and we got resolved a Lotus Cobra, so that's pretty decent. They have their own, so I think we definitely have to kill that, unfortunately. Must be nice to actually get a creature down, but Lotus Cobra is just a little bit too insane, so we need to kill that at the first opportunity. Which we can't do anything else, so we'll swing 2. Alright, so next turn we have some options. So this will trigger for 1. We can crack it to get 2, 3, 4, 5 manas. They got their own Fabled Passage, so they got a pretty sweet advantage. Just 3 cards in hand, though. So Gilded Goose and Lotus Cobra. So they're trying to ramp over there. Sultai ramp. No Nisses. Earl, of course, everybody's favorite card. Didn't know they were on Sultai, so we could have brought in Klothys. This goes into game 3, which it might, then we'll obviously want to bring that in. Sultai Mutate. I don't think we can really do too much here, so I think we'll just play out the Wildbonder. Say go. And we'll see what we can do next turn, though. And we bottom land, and now we still have 3 lands in hand. We have the Embercleave, though, so that's definitely a redeeming payoff. Auspicious Starix, that's pretty nasty. Not sure we can beat this with this board state. Alright, so we know they're on Mutate now. So we can just kill their stuff before they even have a chance to mutate. We didn't find any of our removal spells. Lotus Cobra and Rose. Alright, we'll shave these off to make room for Klothys. There's not a whole lot we can do about Mutate other than trying to kill their creatures, which we have the Dragonfires, we have the Interventions for. And we just cut Embercleaves for Cinderclasm and just try to keep them off of creatures. I mean, they're eventually going to cast them anyway. I don't know, just try to kill their creatures earlier on and get our trample creatures down and hope we can kind of go from there, especially with Embercleaves, kind of go over the top of their auspicious Starixes and whatnot. So obviously it kind of sucks we had no idea what they're up to, and they got a huge advantage on us. Mutate's pretty, I know people downplay it, but Mutate's a pretty decent strategy. Is it top 8 worthy? Not necessarily, but you know, on Arena, it definitely puts in work. Yeah, we need some interaction. We'll drop our Cobra. They might have a kill spell for it. If they don't do anything, we'll just haste in this Shatterskull Charger. And save the landfall triggers for next turn. Alright, so we can Crasher next turn if we want. I think that's probably our best play. They might just play a creature we have to kill though, so that would kind of suck. I probably should have played the passage first, but I don't think it matters too much here. We can still cast our Crasher here. They could block, but we'll just play it safe. So they get 1 turn here to maybe mutate. We'll see what they do. Which one is that? Hagra Mauling. In a 3-color deck. So I'm just not sold on these cards. Like, now you're playing all these tap lands. Like, sure, that could be a kill spell later on if you top deck it, but just played a tap land. Now they might be able to cast something that would have been able to cast otherwise, so not entirely sure it's worth it. Well, they had one in hand and they killed our Quartzwood Crasher. Must be nice. So I think we kick this and then just attack. So we've got a nice clock on them. We have the Purphoros Intervention, which can scale whatever they cast. So they still have 3 mana open thanks to the 1/1 here. We got the Mutate. Alright, so that's going to be a 3/4 now. So we can Dragonfire the 1/1 and then mutate, Intervention the mutation here. So X equals 2. We could probably just trample through, but we'll just kill their stuff. And Dragonfire. Swing 7. So saw the good and the bad with the Hagra Mauling. They had another one in hand to kill us, but then it came in as tapped, and so they probably couldn't cast what they wanted to, and had to wait. Yeah, so obviously we got wrecked by the pretty low to the ground Flyers list. Still not sure that deck is viable. They wrecked us pretty hard, but I'm not sure how well that deck is going to do overall. Lost too many pieces, seems like. The Mutate with the Shark was pretty good inclusion, but then if you're running all those 2 and 3 drops, not entirely sure it's worth it. But yeah, we can do some pretty nasty things with our deck. Purphoros is obviously didn't get to see value off of that. We had it in our hand to cast it, but we went with the Crasher instead. Great Henge, not entirely sold that it belongs here in this list. Obviously, there's certain situations where it's going to feel really good, but I think there's going to be situations where your opponent's just swiping your board, and you're just not going to be able to get maybe enough value off of this. You'd rather just have like another creature or something, or you maybe just need more removal for those other creature decks. Wildbonder is a little bit cute, but obviously it can be pretty powerful, especially with the Quartzwood Crasher. Gargaroth is a good value card in general. Embercleave works extremely well with our Quartzwood Crasher, and just in general with our big beefy threats. Shatterskull Charger to this card is pretty insane, especially against the control decks. It just dodges their board wipes and any sorcery speed removal. They have to have instant speed interaction or counter spells to deal with it, and just such a good body here. 3 mana for a 4/3 Trample Haste. It's pretty amazing. Bonecrusher Giant lines up with what we're trying to do pretty well. The Cobra is just kind of a new mana dork of choice, and then Caryatid gives us another little bit of a ramp here in the early turns, and both give us nice mutate targets for Gemrazer if we need to blow up like some mill enchantments or something like that. And then obviously the Cragcrown Pathways is a must in the dual decks. Definitely excited to see get the rest of these and have a little bit smoother mana bases for other color combinations. But yeah, I do think Purphoros Intervention is a pretty sweet card. Obviously, you got some nice value there, and it having it come out as a trample creature as well to potentially kill your opponent, or just get additional triggers off the Quartzwood Crasher could be pretty nice. Sideboard, still obviously trying to figure out the meta, but this is kind of what I've been working with for now. I definitely feel like Scorching Dragonfire is a must against the rogue decks. Shock just doesn't quite do it. You need that Shock Stomp, don't quite do it. There's too many 3 toughness creatures that you need to answer, like the Flash Flyer one that pumps up, that's like the Rogue Lord basically, and things like that. You really just need 3 toughness and instant speed, super important. And then of course Cinderclasm against any kind of go wide type strategies. Also deal with the Cobras as well. Turn to nature, obviously Embercleave is still always going to be an issue for as long as it's in standard. Spyglass Ugin is still a problem. I do like Klothys a little bit over the Ooze because it's a little bit more, I feel like it's just kind of more of a durable threat. So dodges your opponents. If your opponent's on like some Uro ramp strategy and there's Shatter in your skies or whatever, sure, you won't get devotion for your Klothys, but you'll still be able to hit their graveyard turn after turn and kind of ping their life total, so they can't just sit back and try to counter anything else you play. Questing Beast obviously could be main deckable for the Wildbonder, but I do like the Wildbonder in the main board just to kind of be all in on that trample strategy. But if you want to just be more aggressive, then I could definitely understand running Questing Beast in the main and freeing up some sideboard slots for whatever. And then I do like the Vivien here as well to kind of help you out for the more grindier matchups where you need to kind of pump out creatures and dig for creatures, playing creatures on top of your library or chaining together creatures with her -2. Seems like it could be pretty solid here. But I haven't really gotten too much practice with this particular list in this particular meta, so maybe Vivien isn't quite the right answer. But I mean, Garrick, like we already have Trample anyway, so I don't know if Garrick is really where you want to be either, but maybe. It's definitely like a Vivien better here out of this side. But yeah, I feel like it's a pretty good starting place for the deck, so definitely happy to play around with this in early access and now kind of sit down for real and try to make a more focused version, not just experimenting with new cards. And like this is a very strong deck. You definitely play this in ranked and do well with it. Obviously we did pretty well. We kind of struggled with land drops and we got wrecked by Lofty Denials, which is pretty annoying, but definitely think we could have definitely handled that deck pretty well if we had hit our land drops and that sort of thing, but you know, that's just magic. It's not always going to work out in your favor. Yeah, I do like the ram throughs, giving you some main deck interaction for just kind of a variety of threats as well. Yeah, not too much I would really change. Again, I think the Great Henge is probably the biggest question mark. Wildbonder is maybe a little bit cheeky, but it can be pretty sweet, though. Definitely can be pretty sweet. Other than that, don't have too much else to say. So thanks for watching, guys. Till next time, make sure you jank with a